Alright, welcome to the channel. This is my 1980 Ironhead 1000 4-speed transmission. So far, I've only really welded on the hardtail. I made that sissy bar and I've mounted the rear fender. Waiting on a gas tank to come in. Anyway, today we're going to be taking apart the top end, well, the heads and the rocker boxes. And we're really blurry. Anyway, so check it out. Alright, so the whole purpose of this channel is so you guys kind of follow along with this build. My vision's like a 60s style chopper, kind of low in the front, high apes, tall sissy bar, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to kind of go through everything I do. And if you hear noises in the background, don't mind them. It's just my wife working out. So I don't have a Harley manual, but I have this Haynes manual. And so far it seems pretty good. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, turn to the very beginning of it and it'll show you where everything is. So we're working engine, clutch and transmission, chapter 2, page 45, right here. So I want to know how to properly remove the cylinder heads and the rocker boxes. Okay, so the book says to first remove the rocker boxes and then take off the heads. I'm not going to be able to do that on both of them because of how tight this is right here. I can barely even get my finger between the frame and that rocker box bolt. So what I'm going to do instead is take out the 4 head bolts and take the head with the rocker box still attached to it and slide it all the way out. I don't know where this piston is sitting right now. Hopefully it's low so it's not going to scrape on the way out, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I'm not surprised that this is not going to go how I planned. Even with this extension, I can't get the right angle to get on this head bolt in here because the backbone, is that what that's called? Backbone? Back tube? This right here is in the way. So that means I've got to take out the motor bolts, the motor mount bolts. I'm hoping that I don't have to take the entire engine out. I'm hoping I can just like tilt it in the frame to get clearance. That's my plan. So I'm going to try that first. So we've got, if you don't know, we've got 2 bolts right here. You see that? Right there. There's a bolt here and a bolt here that mounts to the frame. And then you've got a couple in the rear. These aren't actually bolted up though, it's just sitting in place. And you've got one up top. At least I do. I actually made this top motor mount because the factory motor mount for the 1980 Ironheads, I don't know what other years, but I know for this one. There's one like in the front on these down tubes right here. I got rid of that and welded on a new, or made and welded a new motor mount on the top. So I've only got 3. One in the top, one in the front, one in the rear. I'm going to take the bolts out of the front one and see if that's enough to tilt the motor a little bit in the frame to give me enough clearance to get these bolts out. So I really don't want to have to pull this whole motor out right now. I'd rather pull it out when it's half as heavy. By taking off the top end first and then taking the bottom end out later. Alright, so I'm an idiot and didn't press record before I took that first one out. Anyway, it's a 9/16 bolt and nut. So I'm going to put a box end wrench on one end, on the nut side, and a ratchet on the other. Because that bolt sticks through the nut a little bit long on the back side, so you don't want to bottom out your wrench and slip off the top of the nut and round it off. So I've already got the first one, the first nut off, so I'm going to do the second one now. So when you take these apart, you've got your bolt right here. You've got a spacer that goes between the frame and the motor mount. So it goes between the two down tubes in the frame, and this runs through it, right? And you've got two washers, one on the head of the bolt, and then this one with these ridges in it. See if you guys can see that, hang on. This with the ridges in it goes on the nut side facing out, so the nut goes here. At least that's how it is when you take it apart. I don't know what the purpose of that is though. And you've got two of those. So one's on top, one's on bottom. So the bottom one came out fairly easily. I think there's a little bit of tension on this one though, so I'm gonna have to wiggle the motor a little bit and try to knock that out with like a rubber mallet or something. So that washer fell off. I've got the nut right here. I think I might have to use this like a punch or something. I'm gonna grab a punch for this. Well, I don't have a punch, so I'm gonna have to improvise. Screwdriver will work. Again, you've got bolt with a washer on the head side, spacer, washer, nut. My wife is listening to some old school pop punk. Alright, so now, oh yeah, see I've already made room. So the motor, I don't know if you can see up here. Hang on. So what I was talking about before was this was in the way. I couldn't get to these bolts under here, but the motor's already shifted to the left a bit. And get in focus. Alright, what the heck? Alright, so now my plan is to keep doing it. It already shifted to the left a bit, so I'm going to shift it even further. And instead of taking it all the way out, I'll like ratchet strap it or something in place if I have to, and get those bolts out, because this was in the way. And I couldn't get down to the head bolt right inside here. So that's what's next. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. That's perfect right there. That's all I need. Okay, so taking the front motor mount bolts out works. I don't have to pull the engine, but I'm just gonna tilt it towards me a little bit. As you can see, it moves pretty freely in the frame, enough for me to be able to get to all of the, that one's gonna be a little tough with these down tubes, but I can get to all these rocker box bolts now. You're supposed to remove them kind of all together, so like back off one bolt and then jump over and back off another one just a little bit and then back off another one a little bit and kind of work them all out at the same time. You're not supposed to take one whole bolt out at a time. I don't know if there's like a proper sequence. I couldn't find it in the Haynes manual, but again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm a shade tree mechanic at best. So I'm just going to kind of go with the general rule of thumb of backing this one out a little and then jumping over and backing this one out a little and then jumping back over and backing this one and then over and then over and over and kind of work my way in like a star-ish pattern. Yeah, so that's what's next. Work with me. Okay, that's not ideal. Try not to drop your rocker box. Anyway, there it is. There's the rocker box. Now, anyway, from what I have read online, let me see if I can get you guys focused in on this. Hang on. Alright, so that, the top of this pushrod tube, come on, autofocus, do your thing. There, that's better. So this, with this little lip right here, this is the top of the pushrod tube, that's where an O-ring sits. The cork pushrod tubes were just flat. They had the lip, but they didn't have this little inner lip, I guess. They were just flat across with the opening, obviously. So now that I've got that off, I'm going to take this head off. Pushrod assembly. And I think these were 9/16 when I tried earlier. 7/16. No, excuse me, 7/16, not 9/16. Okay, so I've got the 4 bolts from the head. Full disclosure, I've been inside this top end before. When I first bought the bike a few years ago, I took it all apart just to kind of look at it. I didn't know what I was looking at though. But I cleaned up some of the carbon that was in it. So I know that it's in okay shape, but from all my research online, I've decided what I want to do is make sure that these valves are seated correctly and seated properly. I've got lapping compound and one of those valve sticks with the suction cup, so I don't want to do it with a drill. I need to get a spring compressor for the valves so I can remove them. Actually, what I might just do, something else I saw somebody plug the spark plug hole here and then fill the head with gasoline and just let it sit. And if it doesn't leak, then is there any reason to lap them? I don't know. If you guys know, let me know. That way I'll know what I should do. Because my plan is to get these cylinders off and rehome them. And I think these pistons should be okay. I'm going to clean them up really well, but I need to measure them. So I might just take them to a machine shop and have them measure them for me and tell me what size they are. Because I believe, oh, this one's 40, this is 40 over. So there's already bored 40 thousandths of an inch over. And I don't know what the limit is on Ironheads, but I don't want to really go any bigger than that if I can help it. I know a set of replacement cylinders and pistons, like a whole kit, is like $400, which isn't a ton of money, but it's more than I really want to spend on that. I mean, I will if I have to, but I would like to not buy a whole new set of cylinders and pistons if I can avoid it. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the front cylinder. We'll take the rocker box off and then remove the head. Thanks for watching.